Yo, what's up, YouTube? This is Ben here at That Cologne Guy, coming at you with yet another cologne review. In fact, this continues my first impressions series. As some of you know who have been following my channel, you know that every once in a while a subscriber and now a friend every once in a while sends me a box of samples, and he only asks that I review them. And so one by one I am reviewing these samples. I wear them for a day or two and then I review them, and I'm about halfway through. So today is Rosé All Day. Rosé All Day, it's called, by Gallagher. And this is a 2018 release, so it's quite new. And the parfumier is Daniel Gallagher. And this is also my first time with this house, in fact. So something to appreciate there. I had heard about this one. However, I had never smelled it until I got this sample in the mail. So thanks again to subscriber Wes. Really appreciate that. There are, for me, 4 to 5 notes that really stand out. Oh, and let me just add to this is clearly a gourmand. So if you're not sure what that term refers to, a gourmand means an edible-like smell, so often associated with food. And look no further if you like gourmands. You could I get 4, possibly 5 notes out of this. Brown sugar, honey, apples, probably the main one actually, and let's see, honey, brown sugar, apples, and rose. Get it? Rosé all day. So here's why I hesitated a little bit on rose. You know, in the last video I reviewed, I mentioned a couple times that what I didn't like about that particular fragrance was actually the name. And so I'm going to go ahead and say the same thing about this one, in the sense that I would call, instead of Rosé All Day, and by the way, it has an accent on, you can't see it, but it has an accent over the E, so it's Rosé, and then All Day, day is D-A-E, and has an accent over that as well. I'm assuming that's Gaelic, D-A-E with an accent. Now, what's interesting about this is, instead of Rosé All Day, I would call this Apple Pie All Day. And you can probably figure out why they did not choose that. But that's really what it is. These ingredients really, well, these notes, I mean, talk about a gourmand. You have to almost talk about this in terms of ingredients. These notes really form 4 strong ingredients, and that is a very strong apple pie smell to this. In fact, I was surprised that cinnamon was not listed, and the reason why I said 4, possibly 5, is I would add that there's plum in this, but it's kind of a secondary player, and it almost seems to kind of combine with the honey and brown sugar to create cinnamon. In fact, when I looked at the notes on Fragrantica, I couldn't believe that cinnamon was not listed as a note. So really the main players are create a strong apple pie smell. And if you really wanted to, if that's not enough, I would say take out one of those red apple cinnamon candles in the winter time. You know, with like the 3 wicks, right? Some sort of like a kind of a Yankee candle situation. And consider that, because that's exactly what this is. Now, I'm not. Oh, here's what's interesting about this particular fragrance. I'm normally not a fan of the syrupy. Don't you want to smell like bread and pancakes and apple pies? No, I do not. Coffee maybe, but I really don't care for these normally. However, I will say that this is quite unique. It doesn't sound like it, because when you say an apple cinnamon candle, that doesn't sound very unique, or something you'd actually want to smell like all the time. I will give it to us. It has just enough rose so that it's not exactly like that, and it has enough in it to make it unique. And when I went to Fragrantic and looked at the list of fragrances it might smell like, there really isn't much. It's quite unique, actually. It pulls off the unexpected, because when I first smelled it, your first reaction is just this blast of apple pie, and I thought, wow, okay, this is not going to be for me. However, after I wore it, I have to give it to him. The house did a very good job blending this, and I tip my cap to him. As far as projection, I got very good projection, and it's the kind of projection I like. I don't really like to rate projection necessarily in terms of numbers, just because if I say 7 or 8 out of 10, then you might think, oh, well, that's not that good. I like that number. I like that type of solid projection, but doesn't have to clear out a room, and it creates a nice scent cloud. People will smell it, but you don't have to worry about offending someone, or if you work in a small area, that you won't blast everyone out of the room. So I really like the projection. Where this guy really excels, though, is the longevity. Longevity is going to be a rock solid 8 to 10, and if you spray on clothes, 10 and more easily. This is I got a strong 8. You will get a work shift out of this easily, and even slightly more. And if you're the kind of person that, if you're imagining something like a work shift and then going out with your colleagues afterwards for a couple of hours for drinks, this will be able to handle that easily if you spray on your clothes. Now, for age group, this is, well, first of all, for gender, this is marketed clearly towards men and women, and I would say I found this entirely unisex. There's nothing that stands out in either way. I mean, this is just right down the, as far as marketing, this really kind of goes beyond gender. I wore it for 2 days, and there's no, feminine quality to it in terms of how you might define that. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Very clearly unisex, no doubt, because it smells exactly like an apple pie. So I mean, that doesn't really say I'm a man or a woman, does it? You just smell kind of like a, the apple cinnamon candle or an apple pie. With regard to age group, this will be more mature. Anyone could pull this off, but I mean, you're looking at 25 and up as far as the marketing audience for this target audience. Season, though, I would say is almost exclusively winter, maybe fall, but this is definitely something that I envision wearing on a winter day at work. And especially, like, for example, holiday party. So let's say it's December, and you start all of the holiday parties with work, family, relatives, friends, etc., etc., etc. Then I think that if you wanted to get a work shift and then go straight to this party, hang out for a couple hours, this would be able to pull that off extremely well. And even if you didn't, in other words, even if you didn't wear it to work but wanted to wear it to a party, you would still be fine, because, again, the projection is not intense in any way. There's nothing about it. It's quite smooth, actually. I like that. So occasions, there you go. Is it a workplace? Yeah, absolutely. It's a workplace scent. Is it a date night, though? I would say be careful with that, especially if it's a first date, just because it's quite particular. It has a very specific smell, so people will either really, really like it, or it might be off-putting to them in kind of a, wow, you smell like a walking candle, and I don't like that kind of way. So this is a bit risky to wear if it's a first date, or but if it's something that if you are naturally drawn to gourmands and you would want to wear this, then you absolutely should. But as far as occasion, I would say probably work, maybe afterwards, group of friends. In an intimate sense, though, date night, I would say that you would want to make sure that the other person knows about this kind of scent and likes that, because it's not for everyone. Overall, I'm going to give this. The amount of sprays is kind of hard, because I have to say I probably give it a 3 out of 5. as I mentioned earlier, I'm not a huge fan of this kind of smell, the bakery gourmands, if you will. I don't mind the boozy ones, and I don't mind the coffee ones, and even their ultra sweet ones like that smell like coffee. But this one, these are kind of a slippery slope for me. But I'm going to surprise you here, and I'm going to say this. Think about your music collection, and think about, all of us can think of one band, album, however you want to, song, however you want to define it, that we have in our collection that is totally outside of the normal genre that we listen to. Right? Think of the music you listen to, and think of a song that is probably even in a genre you don't even like, but for whatever reason you really like that song, and that is like Rosé All Day for me. I don't normally care for the apple pie kind of smell all day, apple cinnamon candle, but I will absolutely go on record and say that I would like to have this in my collection. It goes against pretty much what I normally like, but I like it. And that's a compliment to it. It's very well blended. I like the fact that it approaches the apple pie level, but then backs off. I think the plum helps that. The honey helps that. And it's just so interesting because you would swear that this has cinnamon. The combination of brown sugar, honey, and plum really adds to this. Now, I think I mentioned this in another review about rose, but as far as Rosé All Day, again, I would change it to apple pie all day. But if you like rose, but you're looking for something, I guess, more quote-unquote masculine, I would say, again, if you're in the niche area, look for Lyric Man. I'm going to plug that pretty much every time I talk about rose, because that is the crown jewel of rose for guys, even though it is pretty close to unisex. But I mean, Lyric Man is the absolute crown jewel of rose for men. Other than that, though, again, I would take off points for the Rosé All Day, but other than that, I tip my cap to these guys. Gallagher, this is my first scent smelling from this house, and I really like it. I'm intrigued to know more. Have you tried these? And if not, I would say too, or if you have, I would say maybe even put in the comment box, what is one fragrance that you have in your collection that also, just like this one, kind of goes against the normal type that you like, but you just happen to like it? I'd be intrigued to know what other scents are in that class for you, because this one surprised me. I absolutely would not have bought this as a blind buy. I wouldn't have even purchased a sample of it, but because it was sent to me, it's fun to try something new, right? And it worked well for me. In fact, I wore it for a day and a half, and I think I have just enough here. The bottle is a little different in the sense that I haven't been able to get full sprays, but I'll try my best. The final overall review rating is 3 sprays out of 5 for Rosé All Day. Here we go. Oh, it works. Good. 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to go light an apple cinnamon candle and have a slice of apple pie. Just kidding. Okay, so keep the comments coming. I appreciate the observations, the comments, the feedback. Means a lot. Appreciate it. Thank you. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And hope to hear from you soon. Take care.